What's going on, guys? It's Cimo. So I had a completely separate video planned out for today, but yesterday Konami decided to drop a pretty big bombshell piece of news on us in regards to the 2019 MegaTins. And I remember last year I did a video about the 2018 MegaTins saying that they were going to be some of the best ever. Yeah, I think this is probably gonna beat them, so I wanted to go ahead and share with you why I believe that and show you the article that we got and kind of discuss it a little bit because there's a lot to unpack there. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. So here is the piece of news that we got regarding the MegaTins. They're gonna come out on August 29th for official OTS stores and August 30th everywhere else, and this makes sense. It's usually always around the end of summer when they're gonna start reprinting all the cards. They might start shifting out some of the older archetypes in favor of newer ones that we might be getting in sets like Rising Rampage and maybe sets beyond that. We'll just have to see. So the 2019 gold sarcophagus tin, first of all, just look at how amazing this looks. I think that is just like already just infinitely better than the old MegaTin designs. I think I was just really getting sick of them being character themed, and this just like embodies Yu-Gi-Oh, you know? So the 2019 gold sarcophagus tin is fashioned after the iconic gold sarcophagus and is designed to reduce the amount of wear and tear sustained by the cards you keep in it, making it a stylish and efficient way to store cards that are important to you. I still disagree with that, but it is a good way to kind of just stack and store cards because it looks a lot more rectangular, where the older MegaTins were a lot wider and kind of putting your cards in them was a little bit more awkward. Obviously, you're still going to use a binder or something that has a lot more protection compared to this, but if you have a lot of bulk, it looks like it's going to actually house the cards much nicer, so they're not going to be like clanking around like they would prior. So each tin will come with 5 prismatic secret rare variant cards. So prismatic secrets are something we do not get very often, and is honestly, in my opinion, probably the most superior looking form of secret rares that we have. So let's go ahead and see 2 cards from a set of 6 new cards with art by Kazuki Takahashi, the creator of Yu-Gi-Oh. So already, when we're talking about my 3 pillars of what embodies a good product, you need to have something that appeals to the casuals, the collectors, and the competitive markets. And right here, this is going to be the collector's market written all over it. The fact that we're going to be getting cards with Kazuki Takahashi's artwork, I think is fantastic, and that is a really good way to sell these tins. Next up, 2 cards from a set of 5 cards from the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Animated series, which include the 3 Egyptian God cards with art by Kazuki Takahashi. So again, this is also appealing to not only the collectors, but also the casual players as well, who might have a lot of nostalgia for the older Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime. So I think this is a really cool inclusion. It's also kind of very thematic also, you know, kind of with the whole gold sark thing. I think that's pretty cool. But this is the thing that has me the most interested and kind of where I want to centralize a majority of this discussion. So 1 of 3 new world premiere cards, so these cards have not been released yet, designed to be usable in any deck and help you stage a comeback against some of the fastest strategies that might have come from your opponent. 1 card prevents graveyard dumping, another punishes your opponent if they summon too many monsters, and the 3rd gives you a reprieve if they set up a monstrously large field on their first turn. Okay. So this is what has me the most interested here, because the fact that we're getting 3 cards that have never existed before, so this means we haven't seen them in Japan. This is something that's going to be exclusive solely to us. Maybe Japan and the OCG will get them later on, but this is really fascinating because, okay, the first card says 1 card prevents graveyard dumping. So essentially, what is that going to mean? Does that mean is they're going to just pretty much prevent you from sending cards to the graveyard for the duration of the turn entirely? Is it going to banish the cards instead of them getting sent to the graveyard? I think it's probably going to be more of a floodgate-esque effect to prevent them from doing it entirely, but that's huge because think of how many graveyard-centric decks exist in the metagame. Salamangreat is one of them. Orchist is one of them. There's so many cards that rely on the graveyard utilizing it as a resource, and if you have like a hand trap that you can drop when you're going second that stops your opponent from sending cards to the graveyard, like that's huge. Like that's not like, you know, max C level, but it pretty much might skip turns for some decks that are reliant on using the graveyard for setup. So then the second card punishes your opponent if they summon too many monsters. So I'm trying to think how this would work because, like, again, one of the things you have to figure out is when you're establishing, you know, designing cards like this, Yu-Gi-Oh! Has a lot of cards that negate other types of cards. So this has to be some sort of way that if your opponent summons like too many monsters, are you going to be able to like drop this during your opponent's turn, kind of like a hand trap again, where it will like wipe their field. So this is pretty much going up against combo decks. So, you know, Danger Thunder Dragon or something like, you know, again, Orcust or any deck that's just going to like just vomit their entire hand onto the board. You know, Pendulum decks could be one of them. Crusadia Guard Dragon could be another deck. There's a lot of versatility here against the combo decks depending on what this card does. But like, is it going to like nuke their board? Because against Thunder Dragon, that wouldn't do anything because they have built-in protection. So it would have to like almost like return the cards to the hand, which would then theoretically return them to the extra deck if they were summoned there, or it'd have to like shuffle them back into the deck or something. So I'm really curious to see what that card is. And then the third card gives you a reprieve if they set up a monstrously large field on their first turn. Now, theoretically, we have a card that kind of already does this in like One Day of Peace, but no one plays One Day of Peace. I mean, obviously, first off, it's at 1, so that's one reason. But the other reason is that, like, even if you had a card to pretty much make it that you weren't going to die on the next turn, is that really gonna matter too much? So like, I'm curious what kind of effect they're gonna have to give a card like this to make it A, not make it so that it's negatable by anything that your opponent plays on their monstrously large field. B, it has to be worth running that it's not only going to give you an extra turn, but also give you the ability to actually like break the opponent's board in some form, because if you buy an extra turn, but the card doesn't like do anything else, like I don't really think that's enough that it's realistically going to matter. Again, I could be completely wrong, but we'll just have to keep an eye on what these cards are, and I think this is kind of going to be the selling point if these cards are strong enough. Now, the one reason I'm a little bit skeptical about this is because we have seen the best monster of 2018 or 2017, whatever the fuck it was, being Sea Monster of Theseus, and obviously that was not true in the slightest. So are these cards going to be that powerful? I guess time will have to tell, but I think it's interesting that they are going to put cards this powerful, supposedly, in a product this accessible. And the fact they're only giving you 1 of 3 per tin means that there's going to be a high demand for them, especially if they are meta relevant. So then also, they're talking about just pretty much the reprints, like they're going to reprint Danger Tsuchinoko, Nightmare Mermaid, Call by the Grave, and then the mega packs are pretty much like the same as before, 12 commons, a rare, a super, an ultra, and a prismatic secret. So all the secrets are going to be prismatic, which I think is really neat. And now I want to talk about what cards could be reprinted, because pretty much you go by the last 4 core sets when you're looking at what cards might be included in these MegaTins. So the first set would be Flames of Destruction. So in Flames of Destruction, we had cards like Infinite Impermanence, which just got a reprint in dual power, but honestly, I don't see why they wouldn't put it in the MegaTins as well, just to give it another reprint and bring the price down even cheaper. Ghost Spell is another valid reprint that could be in there as well. Nightmare Unicorn, this card desperately needs a reprint, so I'm fairly certain this will be in the MegaTin. I don't want to like say like 100% sure, but I'm fairly certain they're going to put that in there. Corruptor Ibli is another one. Vampire Sucker is also starting to just get up there in price because it's never really had another reprint. World Legacy Secession, Nightmare Griffin, you know, Flood had some pretty decent secrets and ultras for the most part. Now we get into Cybernetic Horizon, not so much. I mean, it depends on what you like. Obviously, Borrelsword Dragon is a big one here, but Borrelsword Dragon is also announced to be in Battles of Legends Heroes Revenge, so you can see it's going to be right here. So are they going to reprint it in the MegaTin a month after it comes out in Battles of Legend Heroes Revenge? I don't think that's likely, but it would be another really good selling point for these tins if Borrelsword Dragon was in here as well, but I think it's not likely just because of that fact. But we also had a lot of the danger cards in Cybernetic Horizon as well. Nessie, Jackalope, Bigfoot, some of the best danger cards were in this set, and assuming, you know, they don't really get murdered on the next ban list, I think this is going to be a really good selling point because the dangers, I mean, you see these price tags, 16 on Jackalope, 25 on Nessie. Actually, Nessie's like 30 realistically. Like, that's just ridiculous. And then if you like the Cyber Dragon support, you can get your hands on that as well. Saiho was okay, but then we get into Soul Fusion. I mean, Soul Fusion had more dangers like Tsuchinoko, which is sitting at 35 bucks still. Thunder Dragon Colossus, which is at 33 bucks. Trap Trick, one of the best traps for not only Artifact Sanctum, but just really trap decks in general that are looking to just turbo out any specific card. Chaos Dragon Levianeer, just a big powerhouse in Thunder Dragon. Just a lot of really solid cards. And then lastly, you know, Savage Strike is going to be in these MegaTins, which means this could be Phantasme's first reprint, which would actually just be nuts. And then you also have cards like Pot of Extravagance. That would be another big money maker. You got Borreload Savage Dragon, which is an ultra rare, but it's still sitting at 15 bucks. Psychic Wielder, which isn't like the best secret, but actually has a lot of versatility. You know, there's so many good potential reprints that could be in these Megatins, paired with the fact that you've got these world premiere cards that could be actually very just game-changing for the meta, and you've got the collector and casual aspect in the cards from the anime and the artwork from Kazuki Takahashi as well. Now, the one thing that contradicts a lot of this is with Battles of Legends Heroes Revenge, because they are reprinting a lot of cards in here as well. We got Borrelsword Dragon, we got Mobilize Engage, Pankratops, Lancia, Summon Limit. These cards are getting rarity bumps, but the thing is that kind of worries me a little bit because these release dates are so close to one another. Are they going to conflict? Because it's like they can't, I don't think they would likely put a lot of the cards in both of these sets if they're just a month apart. That doesn't really make sense because, yeah, I mean, depending on the price, it might sell the sets even harder, but I feel like it would just be tanking the price a lot more and make it just, you know, just flood the market with an overabundance of supply. I could be completely wrong, but I don't really feel like they're going to put Borrelsword Dragon in both of these products. I hope they do. That would be great for anyone looking for it. I just don't think it's too likely. But guys, those are just my thoughts. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think about these brand new Megatins, and if you think these might be some of the best we've ever had, because, you know, depending on how good these cards are, and if we see that the reprints, we're getting like all the dangers and all the other crazy cards from the last 4 core sets, these might shape up to be pretty damn good. So guys, thank you so much for watching the video. Be sure to like the video as always, subscribe to the channel for more amazing Yu-Gi-Oh content, and if you found this video informative, consider supporting me on Patreon or becoming a YouTube channel member, because just by showing your support in any way that you can, you're investing in my ability to continue bringing you amazing Yu-Gi-Oh content. So thanks so much again, and we'll see you next time.